Welcome to the Zachrilege Cast podcast YouTube video interview program that features me talking to some of the best and brightest in the atheist / secular / awesome community. This is episode 253. I recorded this interview on May 13th, 2021. Thank you to Sarah Ray for being on and cornering the market on the secular week of action and getting back-talked by a Christian lawmaker because God forbid a secular person gives an invocation. Not allowed in Florida. The Heathens are my friends. Godless Heathens are my one live show in which we shared the same space. 3 years later, we're back doing Zoom. Well, I guess StreamYard. Jerry, Don, and Jeff have been doing this for 4 years and 92 glorious episodes, talking about whatever the fuck they want in our godforsaken Georgia. Yeah, we had beer, although, yes, I did accept people who drink IPAs. IPAs! This is what I do for you people. Let's start the conversation.
Wow! You mean you were one of the original Little Rascals?
Yeah.
Which one were you? The ugly one?
The heathens are my friends. The heathens are my friends. Wherever I go, the heathens go. The heathens are my friends.
All right.
Well done.
Very nice.
Welcome to the Zachrilege Cast. Godless Heathens, Don, Jeff, Jerry Falwell, Pool Boy, everybody's here. We did this in person. I was like, oh, it's so cool. It's the first episode where I had someone, and I've never done it since. And now you're never going to do it again, probably, because
probably never
we're in
will.
Georgia.
Yeah.
So welcome back.
Thanks for having us. Glad to be back.
Awesome to be back.
Yeah.
Can't believe it's been that long.
I know it's been, was it early 18?
It was
That long?
episode 140, and it was April 24th, 2018. Yeah, so 3+ years ago.
Because, yeah, we started late 17, September. It was International Podcast Day. It was International Blasphemy Day. We did not plan that, but we started a blasphemous podcast on Blasphemy and Podcast Day. But, yeah.
It was in the stars.
Yep. It's proof that God
in
exists.
The stars. Well, I have my bourbon barrel aged drafty kilt, and then The Departed. The best part about the 2 beers I have, because it's craft beer week, is Monday night. Actually, the brewery started with a Bible study.
Right.
And 3 Taverns is a reference to a story from the Bible, so you know what state we're in.
There you go.
But you know what? They're dang good beers. So what's everybody having this evening, except for somebody's monitor?
My monitor is drinking a Greenstone from Old Nation.
I've had that.
All right,
Williamston, Michigan.
Yes.
Michigan beers are
Michigan
Awesome.
beer.
if they're not underrated, they're
IPA.
properly rated.
Only 5.5. I love it. And God loves it too.
And so
You can see through it.
I'm drinking, if I can straighten it out there, a Gates of Smordor by Westbrook in Charleston, South Carolina. This is a s'more-inspired imperial stout brewed with marshmallows, graham crackers, cocoa nibs, and cinnamon. Comes in at 11% ABV.
It's in that nice
quite
bomber.
good.
People don't make those like much anymore. You know, breweries now are like, okay, we'll do the 4-pack, 16 ounces instead of a bomber. You know?
There you go. And I'm was it International Craft Beer Week? Is that what it is now?
I think it's just American Craft Beer Week.
Oh, just American Craft
There you
Beer.
go.
Okay, local. I'm having a beer as well too tonight.
Yay!
Creature Comfort Bebo. It's a Pilsner. It's from Athens. It's 4 something. It's really weak, but I couldn't find a long hair today. I was looking, couldn't find any anywhere.
Your Creature Comforts made some good beer, so.
Must be a special day that you're drinking beer.
Well, the only thing I could find was a grab bag of the red hair stuff, and it was like 3 of those and 3 of 3 other ones, and I didn't want to give away 9 beers, so I bought something
Tolerable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm impressed. You know, when in Rome, you know, you join us for all that. And the best quote from the show I think I have is, Jesus didn't turn water to beer.
I would love to know the context of it.
Who said that? That was
on
the
your
ga-
show.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That was the game we played the last time we came on. I'm sure you do that with all the guests. We're not special. But
That
where
sounds like a
you pick
Donism.
out quotes, and we had to guess who said it. So I have no idea who said Jesus didn't turn water into beer.
Jeff.
I just
Yeah.
That sounds more like a Don thing. I don't
No
know.
way.
Oh, okay.
That's my
Yeah,
guess.
so
at least.
Well, that's true because he does like wine. Yeah.
we last talked about 1,000 days ago, which is kind of crazy. And I brought a beer called Tears of My Enemies, which I didn't get, even though what was it? That's like a bourbon barrel. There's a Scotch barrel, which I did not like, and then there's an apple brandy, which I'd never had before. That's pretty good.
That's a good
It's
one.
kind of expensive, and I just passed on it. So yeah, not this time. So okay, well, according to show lore, who gazes at shoes, who drinks wine, who is on the ledge, and who went to Texas?
Well, nobody actually gazes at shoes, but Jerry's a big fan of those that do. And
He probably glances at
Jeff
shoes. Yeah.
Jeff got to see all of Texas, all 800 miles of it, east to west.
812 miles. I passed through Texas, and not a favorite place of mine. Now, I'm sure there's good parts of Texas, like Austin. It's supposed to be pretty. San Antonio is supposed
You
to
are
be nice.
such a hipster.
Well, I did not go through the hipster part of Texas. I'll tell you that much.
You saw America.
I did see America.
You could probably do pretty well going from like brewery to brewery and then like barbecue joint to barbecue joint.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Jerry is firmly on the ledge, although he is keeping a place swept clean for the rest of us.
You could eat off that ledge.
I'm not. First of all, why are we starting this show like my own show?
Where we just kind of piss on you?
There's no escape. You
where did
cannot escape from yourself.
I thought I was going to get a week off from this, but and by the way, I am not doing the shoegazer fan base any favors with the starlights behind me. I realize that.
You're playing to type, though. You're really playing to type.
Unfortunately, I am. But the fact, what is it about shoegaze music and shoegazing? And this is a question for Don, because you give me more crap about it. What is it other than, pulling my leg that you don't care about it?
No,
literally.
honestly, I do like some shoegaze music. I just, until you said it, I had never heard that term, and it hit so home. I mean, it was such a bullseye that it stuck. It's one of those little things that's rattling around in here now that they'll never get out.
And it was a slur.
So what's an example of like a shoegaze? Because it's basically someone who plays, but they're not like rocking out and doing dance moves. They're in theory looking at their shoes, or they're just so into their music they don't care about
swaying. Yeah.
It is that. Your biggest examples, probably or most popular, would be the Jesus and Mary chain, My Bloody Valentine, and I got 3 blank stares looking back.
No, I've heard of it.
I had the Crow soundtrack. That came out like around the time I was in college, and that was one of the songs was Jesus and Mary Chain. Like, that was the only song I ever heard from them.
There's a.
Was it really the style of music? Is it kind of morose in a way?
It's well, maybe that does go along.
He's swaying right now.
Would like The Cure fall into that type of like this the sad slit your wrist kind of music?
Little gothy.
Yeah, a little gothy.
Little.
The Smiths.
See that?
Little Smiths.
Oh no! Those they all want to die in those. And no, that's not too far from the truth. I mean, I mean, talk about morose. And Morrissey, kind of Trumpy.
Oh, is he? I had no idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? He's riding the Trump train.
Yep. He's
him and John Daly and Brett Favre.
Yeah, he's
on the Trump train.
A big Brexit guy.
Oh God.
Oh yeah. Sorry, didn't mean
That's
to
going
rabbit
well.
hole so quickly.
We're
But no,
on
actually,
England's
to
on the
answer your
ledge too.
question earlier, Jerry, I let the cat out of the bag a couple episodes. I think you pod better when you're a little angry. So, I try and just need just a little bit prior to or, at the beginning of the show. That's all.
Okay, so
like
Don's like the coach who knows what he needs to do to get the best out of the people. Is like, you know what? I don't know if I feel like playing football today. It's like, this guy said something bad about your sister. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But you would totally get this, Zach, being a big football fan. Right before we went live with Brad Onishi, I mentioned that, who's it? Brewski said that, oh, God, I'm drawing a blank now, that Matt Stafford couldn't play for the Patriots. And Jeff and Jerry being a Lions fan, that's all it took. That great show.
I mean, yeah, the whole like being on a ledge and being a Lions fan, that makes more sense right there. I mean, I don't really talk about sports that much in this show, but it's perfect that the Lions drafted a guy and then he caught COVID like the next week. That was just like that's so Detroit Lions. You're like, I will avoid going to Detroit. I'm going to catch COVID.
So
he didn't even play football last year because a lot of the players like opted out. So he purposely like avoided. It was like in a hermetically sealed room, like exercising 24/7. And he's like, I got drafted by Detroit. Crap.
So you're saying he got COVID on purpose?
Fuck you guys.
Yeah, we gotta pick on other people. I actually can relate to Jerry because I got this beer sign for my office from friends, and I decided to open. I had a Bourbon County Stout that I'd been saving, and I decided to open it live on camera, and that thing blew up all over the wall, just blew all over the room. It took like 20 minutes to clean up after it. I'm like, I'm not doing the open a beer live. That's why I open my beers pre-show, because I'm like, if it's gonna blow up, it's not gonna be on this, widely watched show. I'm just glad that none of you have like,
rookie
turned
mistake
around.
Is what you're saying.
Well, and I don't think a lot of my beers, I'm like, oh, you shake them. Just sometimes they blow up. It happens. It happens. Oh, we've all been there. And if you haven't, well, you haven't truly lived. So
You're
other
not
than
having enough fun in your life,
other than being distant.
He paused.
oh, we froze.
Yeah,
But we could probably pick up from there.
we probably could.
Because other than being distanced, has the tone and topics of the show, how have they evolved? Not a religious term.
Yeah.
Since 2018.
Topic wise or
tone.
Sorry, my internet died. It's like we've changed our internet, and this is the first time it's crashed during the middle of a show. So I'm surprised it's still on.
The fact that you can change your internet is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Most people don't get a choice.
Well, we switched from the regular to like the business, because we had like internet and it's not better. It's the same. If that. It's really weird. Like you think about the country in general, and it's like most people are like, yeah, I have like 2 choices for internet no matter where you are. It's like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, if that. But we did kind of start running with your question.
Yeah. We kind of figured where you were going.
You're done. We've answered everything. We're finished, guys. Sorry.
No, they didn't answer. And I'm curious what, because the podcasting years for us coincided with the escalating crazy years in the country. And I think the pod kind of reflected, the mood every couple of weeks, because you would show up and try not to get, consumed by the shit show. And there wasn't a lot of other things to talk about because the end of the dotard years and then the pandemic, it's like, okay, how much worse can it get?
Yeah.
Well, there was crossover between the dotard years and the virus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that final year was a total shitstorm. I mean, it was kind of like the culmination of.
That's if you trust Fauci.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's true. It's like sometimes you think like with atheist content, it's like you're talking about stuff that most people don't think is a problem or most people don't realize exists.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about the country like just falling apart, and I mean, we have a representative in the state of Georgia not too far from us who just is out of her freaking, she's just like a YouTube comment section become into a person. And it's just like, oh, that's our state.
Yeah, she was just stalking AOC.
Yep.
Yesterday and yelling at her. I mean, just a complete asshole. And then who's the other guy that was saying that the insurrection was just simply like a bunch of tourists going through the Capitol?
So be honest.
It was another Georgia rep. Yeah, I don't remember his name.
We live in Georgia.
Yep.
There's no way any of us knew who that guy was.
No, I had never heard of him.
No.
Same.
He's a state representative? He's not in Washington.
No. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He's probably in the House. That's my guess.
He was like some local.
We have a lot of
Cambridge
House
or some
people
shit
at our state.
in the local state house. He's elected to a. Oh shit!
Right.
Just like AOC. Yeah.
It's worse than I thought.
Okay. The one that was allegedly attacked on January 6th.
Well,
There was I saw a meme today. Somebody had a picture of 9/11 and it said tourists visiting New York. Same thing.
So I'm curious. You talk to more atheists on your show, obviously, than we do. How often?
Yeah, we only have Christians on as or pastors.
Of course.
How often does the word and concept of woke come up in atheist conversations, or is it just atheist Twitter?
Oh, it's been around. I feel like, I have my lanyards behind me, and I'm, the one that I remember most fondly is the 2 times I went to ReasonCon, and I feel like there was a little bit of that under the undercurrent, like at the time. Like the weird thing is, I think the last time I went to ReasonCon, 2017, the main speaker was Lawrence Krauss.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a bit of an issue. And the award for Atheist of the Year went to Jeremiah Bannister, who now is a Catholic podcaster.
What?
He's totally, and the thing is, if you really follow it, you're like, oh yeah, that doesn't seem too crazy. And there were people who were at the conference and who I chatted with and I had on my show who were like, oh, Gavin McInnes from Proud Boys is really funny. And I'm like, what? Who is this person? And then you just didn't realize that it was sinking in everywhere. And I even gotten a bit of a feud with a podcast because of the whole David Silverman thing. They were really defending him to death. And they were just quoting right wing. Sadly, right wing is just status quo. So people will repeat, it's marketing and messages keep coming in and people will repeat those messages. Mm-hmm. So the attack on all this woke stuff happens, but it's well, do you consider the Republicans woke? Because they got rid of Liz Cheney, who's a very super Republican. She just knew that Trump was the thing. It's sad to I don't know. You think you're oh, I'm into this new group that's so above it all, and it's no, we're all human beings and we all fall for these things. And it's so easy to listen to Joe Rogan. I don't know why people listen to him about anything besides MMA and whatever drugs he does is beyond me. But he's so popular, and it's just you've mainstreamed all this crazy is now it's in the system. So the woke battles continue. It's any community you're in, if you're a fan of a sports team, except maybe not the Detroit Lions, but if you're a fan of a sports team, you have the over the top crazy fans. You do for the Lions too. Every team has it.
You have
to be
the
fans that are just
that's all they have.
They lose their feeling of reality when it comes to the team. It really hit me when I was rooting for a sports team. Wait a second. All the status quo in sports is actually right wing, oh, military's awesome, and look at this country music star, and hey, the team hired this guy and didn't he hit this woman? And it's like, not talk about it.
But he's a 4.340.
It's separate. It's separate.
Sometimes you got it.
So we've learned that like, all these crazy opinions people have about religion are crazy, but then it's like, oh wait, maybe a lot of the opinions people have about everything else has been kind of spoon-fed to them, and the whole woke thing is like, yeah, anything can be overdone, like beer, can be overdone, but it's like, yeah, accept that no matter what group you're in, there's gonna be infighting, and sadly, I wish atheists could unite on kind of political issues like evangelicals do. We haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Yeah.
Because there seem to be just so many people who are like, oh, I'll unite with like evangelicals and right wingers to take down woke people. And it's like, well, what's the problem? We have like the right wing stuff. We have like Georgia militias that are like defending Marjorie Taylor Greene and doing like security for her. And those are like literal Nazis.
Yeah.
They exist. Like this woke thing is still kind of a theory. It's like, yeah, okay, if this is over the top, maybe in a few years, okay. Calling Joe Biden like extreme. It's like, dude, seriously?
Yeah. I still don't understand what the whole slam about woke is. I mean, it's like it infers that you're awake, that you're aware, that I don't understand what the slander is on that.
It's kind of just a repeat of like the 90s PC where like, oh, I can't say anything anymore. I can't tell jokes. You're like, there are comedians out there who know how to tell jokes and not like dehumanize like trans people. Like it's possible to do it.
It's gotten so bad it's transcended politics now. I mean, you got Bob Baffert, who his horse just got caught cheating, and he's
cancel culture.
No, you're being held accountable, Bob. There's
you give your horse drugs, and Yep.
I mean, I get it's like being the like older brother, and you can like overpower your younger brother, and then when your younger brother learns like karate and can kick your butt, you're like, that's not fair. And that's kind of what's happening. Anytime,
let's play Trivial Pursuit.
Anytime, like I think you were talking about like Matt Gaetz in your last. Probably have talked about it in a few episodes, and it's like, it seems that he was dating like teenagers, which seems to be bad.
Dating.
Al Franken got booted for issues that I think he probably should have got booted for, but they were way far away from what this guy's being accused of. And he's like, I'm cool, and I got a big forehead, that kind of stuff. He and Marjorie Taylor Greene doing like a tour of America. It's like, yeah, they
basically had a Trumpless Trump rally is what they had. They just got together and had a Trump rally, and he wasn't there.
And they launched it in an old fart community in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Well, where else are you going to draw a crowd?
Welcome to Florida.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in Florida in a couple of weeks. I'm a little scared, but that's all right.
Don's going to retire there.
To the villages.
Yeah.
That seems like the place to go.
It's got to be the Trumpiest town in America.
You're going to get into like a nursing home, and you get a bunch of STDs and die of COVID. What's the big deal? You're old anyway,
Hey, but free golf. Get free golf.
Go out with a boot. Yeah.
I mean, Hey, I mean,
that's the problem. Our president isn't like playing golf every weekend, and like I think there was even an attempt by like the right wing, like, oh, he took a flight to like Delaware home for the weekend. I'm like, you kidding me?
He took a train.
Every single week, Trump was like spending millions at his own.
Yeah, we were spending millions at his resort so he could go and play golf with the security detail and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't trust everybody saying like, oh, he's been going to bar mitzvahs and he's acting crazy. And it's like, no, he's still running the show.
So when we were talking about woke, and
we tried to get off the rails
earlier. there was discussion about atheist conferences, and I wonder when the in-person atheist and non-believer conferences happen, is it going to be like the battle royale between the SJWs and the
Atheists for Liberty?
Yeah, exactly.
Please invite them.
Yeah. Well, you'll be able to see it live and in person, because I think the next big conference is going to be here in Atlanta.
That's why I think that's one reason why, ReasonCon, when the last one happened in 2017, people were like so excited, like, oh, the next one's going to happen in 2 years. I think the reason why it didn't happen was because it's hard to get a big group of people together unless you have a group like American Atheists that has money. Mm-hmm. Like I was thinking like the first Reason rally had a much larger audience than the second one, which I think was like 2012. And it was because of a lot of the atheists who decided to become anti-woke people were mad because they had a code of conduct. It's like, that seems like something you should have everywhere. And I don't know, like part of me is like, do I want to just hang out and drink a weekend? Yeah, that sounds actually not so bad. But I don't know. It feels like there was a golden age of that. And I don't know if it's going to continue. Like it's the fact that it's like if American Atheist was going to like Columbus, Ohio, I'd be like, but it happens to be where I live.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I might go to that. I never have been to one of those big national ones. I've been to ReasonCon because it was, I don't know, was it like 4 hours from where I live? It was really amazing that they did a conference like in Hickory, North Carolina. It still like blows my mind that was that. And it got such
had a good crowd. I went to the last one.
A big turnout.
In 17. Was that
and then like
ReasonCon 3?
Yeah. And then Nashville Nuns.
That was always my favorite. If any conference,
which worked for me because my parents live in Nashville.
That one because I enjoyed that one more than like the regular atheist conference where it's somebody does a presentation for 40 minutes and there's a 20-minute break and there's some vendors out in the hall and then you go back in, somebody else does it. And it's like 3 days of just 40-minute presentations. Where at Nashville Nuns, it was breakouts into smaller groups and like Dr. Del Rey would do a thing, or there'd be a panel on this, or there'd be something. There was a number of different things, probably 30 or. My problem was I wanted to go to more than I could because 2 or 3 of them were being held at the same time.
Yeah, because they weren't like, being held 4 at a time.
Multiple times. Yeah. So I always loved that conference.
That was one sign that conferences, because we were doing the podcast panel and we had the main auditorium. And there were 4 of us on stage, and there were maybe 10 people in the audience.
Oh, come on, it was more than that.
Because they spread out.
It looked like 4. It looked like
there was sessions at once. And
you got to give something away. You got to have. We
need the T-shirt gun. That's what we need.
Case of beer.
Free beer at the podcast panel.
Well, I was trying. Like, it was really weird because the first Nashville Nuns I went to, they were going to do it at like a high school, but then the high school found out, oh, no atheists. So they dumped on them, and a Universalist church was like, cool. I remember we went to this Universalist church, and it was so nice. It was like this campus.
Yeah.
And we all had beer like in our trunk. Well, I did anyway. And I brought it in, and they were like, sure, drink beer. I'm like, oh, this is my favorite conference,
That was the second one because I didn't
just trying to get you to join the church.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, actually,
I don't know how they felt about us after the fact, but we did a good time. We had a good time.
The guy Patrick who organized ReasonCon, shout out to Patrick. He said
it was NanoCon, yeah.
Or NanoCon, I mean,
Nashville.
That he got talking to the UU pastor, and he was saying, well, this is probably the last stop that people make before they join your group anyway. So it makes sense to have the atheist conference here at the UU church. Well, I thought it was pretty funny. So,
totally.
They do the Sunday
Sunday assembly
thing, which I've only been to like once in Atlanta. I don't know. Even for non-church stuff, it's still weird to go. It never was a thing for me.
You didn't quit church to go to meetings, so.
I went, like, they had it was almost like the international gathering here in Atlanta, like a few years ago.
Like the Juggalos?
Original creators here were from England, and they came over here.
Yeah, 2 stand-up comedians from
and they got together, and it was like a fun weekend. And it's always fun getting together these groups. It's weird because you have this weird level of people who are not celebrities, but at atheist conferences they are. So when you see like the scathing atheist guys and cog disc guys, you're like, oh my god, and they're just like, hi, I mean, I talked to No Illusions for probably 20 minutes about the Jacksonville Jaguars at the last ReasonCon. Poor guy. And now he's living in wherever, Georgia, because like his wife's dad, I think, is sick or something. So
yeah. I think they're down in Valdosta.
Because they were all over the place. Like they were in New York, and then they were like in this place in Pennsylvania, and then he moved back. Yeah, but when you have the big atheist podcast bucks,
yeah.
I mean, have you ever thought like, gosh, can't we just cash in and be Christian and make a bunch of money? But I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. The guy.
How much money?
No. Well, you said the one guy went
got my
Catholic
price.
here recently.
Well, the best part. So this guy was. The thing was, at the time, his daughter was dying, I think, of cancer. So
I remember when all this.
It was atheists giving them money to go on all these trips, and I'm like, great, that's good. And then it's like she died, and then he and his wife were like, I think we're Catholics now. And I'm still friends with him on Facebook. He does shows where he's like wearing a suit and a MAGA hat. And in fact, recently he said he was visited by the FBI because they thought he might have been involved in the whole January 6th thing, which he said he wouldn't because his wife was having kids because they're really Catholic. They have kids every month. It's not a joke. And I think it's totally fine for someone to turn, but I remember like years ago, he was like all about the gender, the critical race theory. He was very mad about that. Like 4 years, he was ahead of the curve.
Right. This is what the wokesters
the latest
are all
like,
concerned about.
Is like, critical race theory is bad because it makes white people feel bad. It's like, yeah, you treat white people the way you've treated other people who aren't white. You don't like it? Then don't do it. Maybe actually think about it, like consider our history from not like our point of view. You know.
Now, who's the atheist guy that just went Muslim?
It was the empathetic atheist, and I would not have I interviewed that Neil, the 604 atheist. He's out of Vancouver.
Yeah.
And the only time I could see him being interviewed was by this guy, and he was the empathetic atheist, but now he's the EA show. And I thought it was an April Fool's joke because it came out around April Fool's time that he was Islamic now.
Yeah.
And I saw him on a show with other Muslims, and he had the beard and everything.
Yeah,
and he was like, I got to memorize the Quran because that's what you do.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's a really tough, if you're faking it, but no, he really believes it. And there was this really weird show where they, some of those guys had Aaron Ra on to talk about, there has to be a necessary, it was like this 5th grade philosophy, there has to be a necessary creature, which of course it was really strange because the guy was like, well, basically I decided that either Islam had to be true or atheism had to be true because there has to be a creator of the universe, which is not something that's really supported by science as far as I know, for my very limited science understanding. But yeah, there is a lot of, the community does go crazy when, you have people who jump ship. I mean, I can't remember the former pastor who became a big atheist person, but then she went back to Christianity. But, it's it's something that's familiar to people. It's like going back with this guy. I feel bad for his wife. I'm like, oh, I'm a Muslim now. It's like, oh God, why?
Yeah.
But he was in, he really got involved. All those, I don't know. There's just so many rabbit holes. I just keeping track of what Ben Shapiro and, Steven Crowder and all those people are up to. They get mad about, Mr. Potato Head and all that.
The thing I wonder about these people that leave atheism for religion is were they ever solidly in the atheist camp? In other words, did they logically?
That's a no true Scotsman fallacy.
Well, I know it.
It's definitely.
They weren't true atheists.
But if you've truly deconstructed all the way
down,
it's
intriguing.
I don't understand.
If you do a podcast and you have people on who are religious, you're going to get in a lot of really emotional kind of arguments, and maybe that's going to catch with your brain waves at some point. You're going to be like, huh. And then you think about it because this guy got in. I haven't had a bunch. I've had maybe 2 ex-Muslims on the whole time I've been on. So it hasn't been a lot of that, but there's just too much of that very right wing. Like if you're an ex-Muslim, you have to be right wing because they really hate Islam. And then like Sam Harris, who, that's just can we be like, at least I'll say it first, and maybe you can agree with me. It's like, I'm not really an expert on anything, but I like to have people on who are experts to talk about that sort of thing. But to say like, I know there's no God. Mm-hmm. Well, all the gods have been created seem to be pretty obviously created by humans. Even the one that were created, the Jews creating their God, whatever, 6,000 years ago, they clearly stole from there's plenty of previous examples out there.
Zach, are you having a crisis of faith?
Yeah. Well,
and he went for the beer right after that.
I can't become
Sacrilege holy hour.
I can't go Muslim because they don't drink. But the funny thing is, like, all of these creators of religion, like Muhammad, I think, drank.
Yeah.
And Joseph Smith drank. And I think the reason why Mormonism went no alcohol is because they're like, I can't afford to buy alcohol when people show up to these meetings. So God said no booze.
Well, if you want to go religious and drink, go Catholic. So you'll be fine.
I mean, my parents are Catholic and they love their wine. So they're all good.
Yeah. Or you can go crystals. They can drink.
Go crystals. Yeah.
So Jeff, you said like if you take all this time to deconstruct.
Yeah.
I did not deconstruct. Don.
Oh, then you're like, you could be one of those that might.
So you're standing on the side of the pool with
no.
foot on a.
You're on the ledge.
No. You're not Mr. Pure Atheist because you had to deconstruct.
Oh yeah.
From religion.
Yeah, there was a point
where just like
no true atheist.
I don't believe this.
Yeah.
That was my deconstruction.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe in hell.
Sounds like bullshit to me.
If I don't believe if hell doesn't exist, well, how can the rest of it?
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing falls apart.
I think deconstruction is a your side of religion thing.
Yeah,
I think it was more sudden for us ex-Catholics.
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree because, I was in the mainline church. So, I was kind of led to believe stuff made sense. And it did for quite some time, obviously. So, yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. But I would say somebody that came from religion and like you said, deconstructed it and came out of it that way. And I think it would be harder to understand how they could go back to religion as opposed to somebody that was never religious or never religious-ish to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, is even if you haven't deconstructed, if you're listening to atheist podcasts or going to atheist conferences, those kind of things, or reading their books, you're finding out the tools to how others deconstruct it anyway. So, yep. I mean, you're kind of finding that support for your stance as you go along anyway, if you're part of the community. So, but yeah, so it's just curious to me how somebody could be an atheist and then somehow, figure out that God is real after all. It just doesn't make sense. It's such a gradual process for a lot of people in that coming out of religion, they just don't go, I'm an atheist now. It's, I'm spiritual. I'm this, I'm agnostic. They kind of go through these steps where it's like you're doing an atheist podcast on Tuesday and Thursday, you're a Catholic. It's okay. There's probably some steps between there, Mm-hmm.
The guy that you said went to be from an atheist to Catholic. Do you know if he started as a Catholic? Because like how many people start at Catholic, go to atheism and say, you know what? I'm going to go back to being...
know the origin story.
Like, do you ever go back?
So it's possible. I mean, I know he and his wife have lots of kids, so that's, Catholic right there. They love that stuff.
So is it, do people go back to what they came from, or do they go back to something different?
Well, that's a good question. It's like, well, if you believe in one faith, would you go to another one?
Well, like the guy that went to Islam, was he a Muslim before?
I don't think so.
So that's one of those examples.
Like, it's weird because it's like these weird rabbit holes. Like, yeah, I saw this guy interview. Oh, he's back. We lost him. He has risen.
3 days later.
See, now I believe that he is the guy. It's like 2.5, actually. Come on. But
36 hours time.
A weekend.
But it's like, when you basically, like, I just saw him do one interview because I was interviewing the guy he was interviewing, and then like the whole controversy came up about him going to become a Muslim. Like, listening to him talk to other Muslims was not that interesting because they almost speaking another language.
Yeah.
Like, they were totally in. I mean, he was growing a beard. It was a transformation.
But he was already in both feet. He wasn't like, so tell me about Islam. Explain this to me.
I mean,
he was.
I think
he was right in there with
when
him.
I watched him talking to his fellow Muslims, it was January, and then it was April when it got kind of announced. I think he was pretty much in. But it takes time, and it is true. Like, it's something I dealt with as like a sports fan. Like, I was super duper like into sports, and then like over time, like, oh, this stuff is kind of gross sometimes too. But it's hard to admit it because like you are identified as like this super football fan. And it's like, well, crap, what am I when I lose this? And then like, so it's tough when you are like considered to be something. And even if you're an atheist, people may think the wrong thing about what you are, but they at least have an idea. And then you're like, no, actually, I'm considering something else. And I would guess if you're an atheist and you're thinking about becoming religious, the last people we don't want to talk to would be atheists because they'd be like, what are you, crazy? Yeah. And then that's what a lot of that did happen with that guy. Like, people went off on him, and it's like, well, I think you're going to treat him sometimes the way you treat, Jerry Falwell Jr. You're going to be kind of like not treat them so well. And then you're like, oh, wait, they're actually a human being, and they're going to not deal well with you saying, are you out of your mind? Because that's what you're literally thinking. So it's tough because, you think about it like we're having these intellectual arguments, but it's very emotional, and the way people define themselves is a big part of everything. Georgia, how's it going here? Now that like we had the 2 senators go, and then immediately the state legislature decided.
Yeah. Well, we need to
change
fix that.
The rules.
Can't have that.
Yeah.
I was impressed though, because I'm used to Georgia being a follower. Like, Georgia is conservative and stupid, but they're usually like 3 states behind. When it came to the voters' rights, like Florida was following us.
Yeah.
The whole bottled water thing in line, and what is it? Some person was like, "Oh, if you give bottled water out, then you're going to influence their vote." I'm like,
they don't believe that. They don't.
But they'd love it if you influence the vote to vote for their person.
I
think actually the person who made that argument is in with the bottled water industry, which is hilarious. Our state's awesome. We love it.
It always was to our advantage that we weren't first, and we let Alabama and North Carolina.
It was like any anti-abortion law, like Georgia was like 4th or 5th. Like other states would lead.
Louisiana be right there.
Yeah, Louisiana, yay! Yeah,
a lot of Catholics down there.
Yeah,
it's intriguing though, because I met like John Ossoff when he was running, and it seemed crazy that he was going to win. And then after he lost the next time, the Democrat won, and he kind of disappeared. Then all of a sudden he showed up to be senator. I'm like, wait a second, you didn't even win a House seat. And then all of a sudden he won. And the weird thing is I was like going to make a joke about like what was going to happen first, openly atheist Georgia politician or herd immunity in this state. And when I actually looked up Georgia atheist, John Ossoff's name came up. But then when I looked at his Wikipedia, the atheist did not show up. So I'm like, he's probably one of those spiritual people.
Cultural.
Yeah. He
kind of jumped the line, but I'm like, hey, you won.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him one day maybe join the the Free Thought Caucus. There's just a few members in it.
I'll take that bet.
It's more than 0.
Yeah,
I'll take that bet.
You don't think he ever will?
Not in Georgia. Not.
It was definitely intriguing to see like a black religious leader who was Martin Luther King's church like run and win, because in a way it's like, oh, a religious person in office, that sucks, but it's like, well, he's progressive, at least he says he's Democrat. We're good.
Yeah, he checks off all the boxes. Yeah.
I voted for him.
Kelly Loeffler, God, that was terrible.
Yeah.
They were just so bad. Like Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue were just so obviously horrible human beings, and they still got 49.5% of the vote. So
they
let's
were
not get
cartoon
crazy.
character villains from Rocky and Bullwinkle. And
Kelly Loeffler was like this super rich woman who's like, oh, let me put on my American flag hat. Oh, I'm wearing flannel. Look at me. I'm among the people.
I got cowboy boots on.
Pores.
Yeah.
How do you really feel, Zach?
I feel good. I'm wearing a cat t-shirt and drinking a beer. What else do you need? Yeah, it doesn't seem like the ledge is getting there should be a jacuzzi on the ledge at least.
Plenty of room on the ledge. We got a nice foundation on the ledge. We're looking at expanding.
You don't want to get comfortable on the ledge though. Like the ledge is something you want to leave. So if there's a Barca lounger or a jacuzzi,
I feel like it's good. Then you're not. Yeah, then you're not really on the ledge anymore. That's right.
That's kind of philosophical there too.
When DoorDash starts delivering to the ledge,
right. You got a pulley system to bring your food up there. Yeah.
So, do you have any plans for the upcoming episode 100?
That's it's.
It might be a little ways, but
we got
plan.
We're still doing once every other week because got to have a life of some sort. So,
what's that?
We got a little bit of a ways till we hit the 100, but it seems like we have to do something. It just
we don't have to do anything.
I know. Oh, it would be crazy. Just
episode from the ledge, literal ledge.
Oh,
we're coming live from the 50th floor.
Oh, hey, a live episode from the ledge.
As long as it's only like on the first floor ledge, I have a thing about heights.
Well, it's not the ledge, Jeff, if it's not scary to fall off of. Otherwise, it's a stoop. How much angst
from the stoop?
Angst do you have from the curb?
Yeah.
I don't want to fall off this curb. I can twist an ankle, and at my age, who knows?
Jeff's ledge is a nice park bench made from recycled materials.
I mean, when you can get injured just opening a beer, it's the possibilities are negative.
Apparently, I'm out of shape with that, and my skills have rusted. We talk about this, and we talked about it, I think today, or I did with somebody in our Signal group, where I was told nicely to take a break from news.
Good luck with that.
And I laughed hysterically.
Maybe some shoegaze music will relax you.
Oh, you and Don both. I should just crank some up just to have it in the background, and actually, it would get taken down because of a copyright rule.
Yeah.
So I was gently told maybe don't look at news so much, but I look at it as two, and I said it in the chat. I can either say what the fuck, like I just did, every day, a couple of times, maybe more, or ignore things, and then when I see it, have my head explode and say it in all caps.
Yeah.
Like, what's better for my mental health?
Yeah.
Probably neither, but
yeah.
I'm going to go with the first one because I'd rather know than kind of be blissfully ignorant and then all of a sudden go, oh man, does it really suck out there that much? Oh, now I'm like legit depressed.
It's like
I don't know. How do you guys manage that?
Guillotine, one of the two. You just take your pick.
Well, I mean, I can't be the only one that has to manage that kind of stuff.
No, I'm trying to navigate that as well. I mean, in the years of Trump, it was like you were glued to the TV set just to see, what the shit show of the day was. you have to do that, less of that now with Biden, but at the same time, in the background, you see what the Republican Party is doing to, take down our democracy. And I don't think enough people are paying attention to that. And so, yes, you definitely want to keep an eye on that kind of stuff because, we only got 2 years left of some kind of peaceful life. Well, year and a half now.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's kind of numb, and it's like, no one really noticed that the Republicans are mad because Trump lost, but it was like, a bunch of people who looked like they were going to lose on the Republican side won in those last House and Senate races, and isn't that going to happen again in 2 years? I mean, they didn't care that we're good. Then that pipeline got compromised. Apparently, they just paid somebody off to get it back online. It's like,
did they really?
Yeah. They announced that today that they did pay the ransom.
Oh, get out!
And I just bought some more plastic bags to put gas in, so I feel I wasted money there.
I got one of those auto detail portable water containers, and I was going to go ahead and fill that bad boy. But they announced that they did pay the ransom, but it's still getting everything ramped back up and back up to full.
It'll take a few days anyway before things get back to normal.
Okay, that's not the worst of the issue. So basically they took a hostage.
Yep. And won.
And got paid.
We negotiated with terrorists.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my only good news is I filled up with gas 3 times in the last year. So
you're like me.
But will you be doing, forget your, podcast doing a live performance together? Will you be doing the Marietta atheist group? Will you be doing that in person coming up?
Yeah.
Jeff?
So what we talked about is we are going to find a location near the square is kind of where we found is kind of central to most people that come to our events. And so we will find a place like Red Hair has a place off the square now that has a lot of outside seating.
They make a beer I like.
And they make a few beers. They also make hard liquor now too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're a distiller. So our intention is to have a live gathering once a month, starting next month. Nice. We're going to continue the Zoom, though. I mean, what's interesting about the Zoom is we've picked up people from not just in Georgia. Yeah. Last night we had one, and we had a guy come in from Minnesota, Minneapolis area, and we also have a
plant.
He was a good. He was a good plant. And then we have somebody that's.
You didn't think the moon landing was fake, did he?
No.
We had somebody show up in person to one of our
in person
a book club meeting
book club.
And started talking about how the moon landing was fake and a couple other things. He mentioned a couple other things, and the funny thing about it was one of the guys that's in the group is like a physicist, and I forgot that. Yeah. And so I'm like, I told the guy, I was like, I'm not a physicist, and Mike's like, I am. I was like,
I'll take it from here. Yeah, that guy never came back.
No, he came one time.
No. So what this is news to me, by the way. And
well, because you're not in our Facebook group.
Yeah, you're not on Facebook. So
that's right.
News trickles down slowly.
There's no Facebook on the ledge, people.
The snail mail.
You bunch of surveillanced sheep.
We sent you a pigeon.
As we talk on the Google. Are you going to require vaccination? Are you gonna be checking cards at the entrance?
Gonna be a passport?
No, that's why. Like I say, and then over the summer, we will be doing it outside. So
he's ducking it.
He's ducking the question.
He's ducking it.
No, I was going to continue on. So I mean, as we've talked on Zoom, everybody that's been on our Zoom calls has been vaccinated. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel in our group we don't have any vaccine skeptic or vaccine hesitant people. But if you have one or two there, those of us that have been vaccinated are still going to be okay. But we'll shame them. We'll shame them to death.
Just pour enough beer on them and they'll be clean.
Yeah.
Just for the record, Jerry, I was not in the know about live meetings starting next month.
Oh,
Well,
This is news to me.
If you would have been on last night's Zoom, you would have found out.
Interesting. I believe we have a schism going on here, so that's good. We'll have to dig into that. But
if
love a
I
good
show up to all
schism.
the Zoom meetings, I'm not as big a celebrity when I go to the conferences.
That's true.
I'm surprised you are not. First of all, do you think everybody that that said they'd been vaccinated actually have, or do you think people are kind of going along to get along?
I mean, you need the mark of the beast to prove it.
Oh, okay. So we need the passport then, is what you're saying,
Now,
Jerry.
While we're talking about this, have y'all heard the latest wrinkle in this whole thing? The new theory of the right is that vaccinated people shed harmful particles, and you should stay away from them. So now the non-maskers and the non-social distancers are thinking about actually starting to wear masks and social distance away from people who have been vaccinated.
So that's what it took.
And I am all for it.
Yeah.
I am 100% behind the plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And which Q drop was this in?
RUQ, is that it? That'd be awesome.
It would. You know what? I would be a lot richer if I was Q.
Yeah.
Because I would have monetized it.
Yeah.
A little better than we are our own podcast.
Who was it? All Democrats will bend the knee. There's like a certain billboard when you head up 75 toward
Dalton,
toward Chattanooga, and it's
There's
always there.
A certain billboard on.
And it used to
75 when you
be
head up
just
towards
like
Chattanooga.
generic stuff, and then it became Trump is awesome, and then it was all Democrats will bend the knee. It's like most Democrats already do bend the knee.
Yeah,
So-
but there was a Q billboard on 41 at one point, in like north of Ackworth.
that's pretty close.
Yeah.
That's almost in Marjorie Taylor Greene territory, isn't it?
Well,
Marjorie Taylor Greene territory is
actually
Alpharetta.
well, that's where she's from.
That's where she lived.
Well, she's from
I know,
Milledgeville,
yeah.
but
She's a carpetbagger.
she's a carpetbagger to Northwest Georgia, and like Bartow County, where I'm at, it borders like Floyd and there's a couple other counties that it borders that are her counties that she actually is
I
representing.
mean, it's weird. Like you have really good soundproofing because I don't hear the banjos in the background. So that's good work. that was there. I've been there. So yeah, if nothing else comes up, I can be your secondary choice. But live episode part 2, we can talk.
There
about
we go.
That. We'll talk about that off air. But we've almost reached the hour point. So before anything else you want to cover before we get into the telling people where to find you kind of stuff? Any
I didn't write that
musical
down.
recommendations?
Anybody got it off the top of their head?
I do. Twitter at Godless Podcast.
No.
So, what do we have to do to sell out to get a lot more listeners and fans? Because we're obviously not doing that. The shoegaze talk, the ledge talk, it's not bringing in the sponsor dollars.
Strange.
So we're going to keep it less real.
I try to make the titles as clickbaity as possible.
You'd
there's only
think
so
with-
much I can do.
With all this, we'd at least get one brewery to sponsor us, but George is weird.
It's like
Well,
we had.
We have a lot of breweries, but
Drinking beers that started from Bible studies, probably not our best bet. But they do the best beer.
The Bible boys make good beer.
Apparently.
I know.
And those monks, yeah.
So,
Hey, Catholics.
Yep.
Nope.
All right. Well, where can we find you, godless heathens?
hit him with the bona fides there, Jeff or Jerry.
Yeah, because I don't know.
For real?
At
One of the
Godless
three,
Podcast
Dad.
on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. At Godless Podcast on Twitter. There's some Facebook group allegedly.
There is a private
Secret.
discussion group on Facebook. Actually, we just hit 2,600 people. 2,600 people strong.
Real people or body people?
2,350 Russian bots, but other than that, we got a pretty good group.
That's a good ratio. I like that. I'm with you.
But that's Facebook. It's mostly Russian bots.
Yep.
Does it say that underneath Facebook now? Mostly Russian bots, but you can talk to grandma.
Russian bots.
And Godless Heathens at yahoo.com.
By all means.
And we love it when people disagree with us.
Yeah.
I do, at least.
Especially about music and ledges.
The ledge is real, and y'all are out there. You just don't realize it.
Oh, yeah.
I do.
Just don't realize it.
I feel like I'm just leaning just a little more. Thank you for
The ledge is so big, you don't realize you're on a ledge.
There's lots of room.
It's roomy. Well, thank you for being back on. It was good chatting with everybody.
Yeah,
thank you.
Nice
Absolutely. And thank you for telling us to number episodes, because that was something we learned the first time we came on.
Oh, really?
You said we don't
That's
know
how bad we were at it.
Yeah, we were babes in swaddling cloth. I mean, we had no idea what the hell we were doing. You came on, you were like, I don't know how many episodes you've done because you don't number. And we're like, fuck, number the episodes. That's brilliant. We should talk to him more often.
Think about the whole knowing.
Stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to think about the whole knowing what you're doing because
I literally went back the next day and put numbers on the front of every episode.
in your face, Flanders, numbers,
baby.
I number the beers I drink, so I will number my episodes exactly.
Oh well.
All right. Well, thank you all for being on. It's been fun.
All right, man. See you in 3 years.
Exactly.
You used to be a boxer just like me?
Yup, they called me Kid Gorgeous. Later on, it was Kid Presentable. Then Kid Gruesome. And finally, Kid Mo.
Live read. And yeah, I've been doing a lot of YouTubing lately, but I had to remember that a new episode, or at least part of an episode of the Woking Up series with Ina, Polite Conversations, if you want to find the feed, in which the former Sam Harris fan woman turns into a critic. Yeah, I said fan woman, because fangirl just seems like, I don't know, making someone a girl when they're not. There isn't a right-wing talking point that Sam Harris can't take on. He's convinced that he has no biases, and somehow in the world of intersectionality, he manages to make himself above it, and also use his Jewish heritage anytime it suits his fancy. He loves defending the whole IQ and race theory, which is pretty non-scientific, and he has on a Brazilian jiu-jitsu expert to talk about how police should defend themselves, and he's pretty pro-police in a gross way. So please check that show out. Episode 6 is out, although it's a partial episode, although, an hour, it's pretty good partial, right? Pretty soon, I'm sure the next episode will be out, and I bet she's just looking forward to this thing being done, because she had him on her show a while back, and that was the whole point, was to kind of go, here's the time when I interviewed him and actually had a critical back and forth. Not a lot of people can do that. And now I feel like he's kind of gone on the other side. It's not easy to accept criticism. Understood. But you know what? You got to be able to at least look in the mirror and see what you're actually putting out there. So if you want to support this show, be like Freethinker215, Alan Marks, Human, Chris of the Postmodern Polymath Podcast, Comrade Coconut, Larry, Daryl, and the other Daryl, and go to Patreon /Zachrilege. Follow me on Twitter, like the Zachrilege Cast page on Facebook, and send all mail to zachrilege.cast@gmail.com. Thank you to the Godless Heathens for being on, and look forward to the next episode. Until then, let's continue the conversation.